Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review. Tonight is, of course, match review time after Newcastle United drew 1-1 with Brighton at the Amex yesterday afternoon. I am joined by Stato tonight, who, of course, we don't know how he felt about the game yet, guys. So we'll get the inside from him. I'm not sure where Sam is, because Sam did tell me she was coming on tonight, but I'm not sure whether she's been caught up with work or anything like that, but she may jump on at some point. But good evening, Alex.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening to the Magpie Massive and everybody at home in Viewerland.
Now then, 1-1 it finished yesterday. A lot of talking points from the game, Alex. A very strange performance, because I actually don't think we played too bad. I think some of the football we played was quite good, actually, in some parts. And the main thing about yesterday was, for me, coming away without losing the game. And it did take a penalty to achieve that. But at the end of the day, we come away with a point, and we're still well and truly in the race for Champions League.
Yeah, it was a much better performance than the previous ones against Brighton. However, it still wasn't enough. But I think Brighton will be very, very happy coming away with any form of points in that fixture, because we piled on the pressure. We had 3 penalty shouts, 13 shots, loads of chances, threw the kitchen sink at them. And they were very, very fortunate to walk away with a point. They should have ideally conceded 2 or 3 goals and had a player sent off, in my opinion. So I think they are very lucky little seagulls, and they can keep their little point, and onwards and upwards we go.
I actually, I said on my match reaction video, Alex, that I thought that Brighton were terrible. But that was the worst Brighton side I've seen in a long time. We dominated the game, literally dominated the game. But again, it was the being ruthless in the final third of the pitch for me that stopped us winning the game by 3 or 4 goals at least, because the chances that we created, again, we just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And you know, many people have sort of signaled out Alexander Isak. You know, another not great game from him, although he scored the penalty. He was cool as ice scoring the penalty, but he's not been at the races for a few games now. I generally feel he's carrying an injury and we're asking too much. Murphy wasn't at his best yesterday. But just when the crosses come into the box, Alex, I just want to see someone try at least and rough it up a bit to try and get on the end of them.
Yeah, I fully anticipated against Brighton that maybe Willick or Isak would pop up with a header or a little tap in, because we keep engineering those opportunities and we keep talking about it week on week. And I just anticipated we'd have done enough homework. You know, maybe Eddie Howe and the coaching staff would have gone, right, we need to start putting some of these away. And I thought it was going to happen against Brighton, whether it was Willick or Isak. And I know Isak's been scoring, but not from the little cutbacks and back post dinks, because we engineer so many of them.
Yeah,
not putting them away, and it just didn't happen, and it's frustrating because we had enough to win that game. We really did, and I feel like we kind of let ourselves down a little bit, because it wasn't like it was just a poor performance. The previous games against Brighton, we had mistakes, lost focus, we weren't good. Whereas yesterday it was a reasonably good display. We had all the right bits of the right pieces of the puzzle. We just couldn't finish it properly. So it was frustrating because it was so nearly the right display. Yeah. And I think Eddie Howe will be frustrated with that, because we did 9/10 of it the right way.
Michael McIntyre with a super chat. Hi all, it's my 70th birthday today. Toon. Happy birthday, Michael. Hope you've had a smashing day, matey. Yeah, look, it's all about this little switch off that we have for this brief minute when we concede a silly goal. And yesterday, Brighton, you know, we dominated the first 20 minutes. We were on top. We had a few opportunities, but we didn't really make the goalkeeper work. And then, you know, again, we just switched off for that brief second, standing off Minter, and he puts it in. Don't get me started on the celebration for the goal, because I have no idea what was going on there. But
Well, we'll get to that.
It's just that little bit of concentration, Alex, which we've seen all season, really, when we're on top of games and then we concede a silly goal.
Look, I mean, you're allowed to concede goals in football. It's quite normal to concede goals. You try not to. You want as many clean sheets as possible. That was a little bit of an irritating one because it could have been dealt with. It was very good work from Minte, to be honest. But with the kind of angle and where it all started, you do feel like somebody could have dealt with it. It's just what happens sometimes against one of those kinds of players. And it's one of the weaknesses of I would say somebody like Burn, excuse me. I think Botman and players like that are a tiny bit sharper and quicker and agile and athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with how Burn plays. It's just a little bit different. It's one of those. It's one of those because Brighton's scoring is not the reason we didn't win the game. It was we had the win in our own control by engineering and finishing our own opportunities because we created enough. We should have been able to win that game, irrespective of them getting that singular goal or not. I feel, the defense have been okay recently. It's just one of those things. Yeah, I am disappointed. I am very disappointed with the celebration as well. I think Yankuba Minte will have potentially been told by Brighton to calm it. He was actually stopped by a fellow Brighton player. I think he was told to shut up and get on. Yeah,
Lewis went over to him at the end.
Yeah, he was being a silly boy because and his comments afterwards about he wanted to show that he'd been released and. Yeah, Yankuba, we didn't want you to go, mate. Eddie Howe made that very clear in the press conference when he was asked those questions. It was a PSR-related transfer. We really wanted to keep you. The manager said it with his own words. The fans echo that sentiment. So there is no need to lose your head and be a little brat. That's poor form, especially if there were one or two people being a bit rude or beyond in the away end. It's football, mate. You're going to have to get as long as there was no racism or anything over the line.
Certainly not been reported.
No, it's not. No, of course not. But yeah, he's just going to have to grow up and get on with it. We didn't want him to leave, nor did the manager. There was no need to start because it went from respect to pointing at Brighton badges. It's a seagull, mate. Get over yourself.
Yeah. Paul World says, what's Paul's fascination with Isak? Surely Willock's embarrassing game is the headline. Paul, I don't have a fascination with Isak. I mean, are you really blind that you can't see that he's not at full floor? He's just not. And by the way, I've also said that I think it's because he's carrying an injury and he's absolutely shattered because we've asked the world of him. That's not a criticism of Isak. It's not a fascination. And we'll come on to Joe Willock, I'm sure, because I've had me say on Willock as well. Choppy, thank you for letting me know that, but I really don't give a damn about that, quite honestly. Trevor says, I was amazed to hear all three match of the day pundits thought Newcastle will make the Champions League. Well, that's because we're still in a very, very, very good position to make the Champions League.
We're still playing reasonably well. You'd like to think if we played and if we had another display like that, you can't keep missing everything.
Yeah,
like we've had spells like that this season, right? Where it then just clicks again, and it happens. It happens. I'm sure I'll be shocked if one of these remaining three fixtures, if we don't pump 2 or 3 goals past someone. Judging by how many opportunities we're creating, it's got to happen at some point.
Toon Assassin says the FA Cup game against Brighton, same lineup 4-2-3-1 for Brighton. We lost that game. They set up the same way. Isn't this something Eddie and the team should have figured out?
I think they did. They just couldn't finish the dinner.
Yeah. It was again. I mean, look. From a manager point of view, you see your players, passing the ball around well. We were getting into the final third really well. It's not Eddie's fault that we can't convert the chances. I mean, what can you do? Murphy's been fantastic this season. Isak scoring a bag full of goals. I thought Barnes was the liveliest. I think Barnes was very good yesterday again.
Well, he was very unfortunate not to have scored. It was a world-class save from their keeper that stopped us going 2-1.
Yeah.
Which is not... Eddie Howe can't control that. He can just try and get Harvey Barnes into those positions through setup. And Barnes did his thing, and it was a good shot. It was just a fantastic save from the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's do a man of the match poll, shall we, Alex? Because we need to get that up. And well, I mean, there's
tricky one.
Yeah. But there's 4 to pick, Alex. You can pick the first one.
God, this is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a collective, it wasn't terrible. There were a few. I can tell you the bottom 4.
We'll come to that in the.
I will throw Sandro in the ratings. I think
Really?
He deserves to be one of. I don't think he was the best, but I think he deserves to be in the vote of the 4.
I'm not sure many people will agree with you there.
He put out two fires that would have potentially resulted in shots on target. He won every single duel. He was fouled 4 times as well. He was okay. He wasn't fantastic, but I think he at least deserves to be in the vote.
Okay. Well, I've gone for Barnes.
Yep,
who's your next? Who's your next one?
I mean, they were probably the not really anyone else. I mean, I guess Tino was fairly lively, but
Livramento, yeah.
Min said it was a good battle. Yeah, I guess Tino was okay.
Okay. Well, the 4th one I'm going for Anthony Gordon. I know he was only a substitute, but I thought he was very bright when he came on. But there you go. Yeah. There's the 4. Tonali, Barnes, Livramento, or Gordon. Get voting, and of course we will get that result at the end of the show.
Even though Isak scored, I don't think he even deserves to be in their list.
Absolutely not. No way. Isak, there's something not right there. But we'll come on to that in the player ratings. But obviously, you know, we did huff and puff yesterday, Alex. But again, a lot of people disappointed that we didn't see Asula, especially after scoring his goal last week. I felt that somebody like Asula would have been good to come on for even 10, 15 minutes, just for the physicality, just to try and rough it up a little bit. Because, you know, those certainly... You know, the likes of Dunk, etc. yesterday had a very easy ride for me on the physical side of it. They weren't challenged for headers in the box. I just think maybe Asula would have brought that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I didn't really see the point in bringing Callum on in a game like this. I liked the Anthony Gordon sub. I thought that was 56 minutes. It was a really proactive time to make that change. I thought that was really good. It gave Murphy and the rest of the team 10 minutes to try and see out a half-time plan of sorts, and then it was right. Let's bring Gordon on, which I thought was a really solid pick. But Wilson, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really see. I mean, there was the header, but obviously I think that move ended up being offside anyway. There was the header that then resulted in a check.
It was a penalty incident, but then he had the shot that was tipped over the bar in the last couple of minutes.
I think maybe because Isak was still on, so
he kept Isak on. Yeah,
I don't know how he would have then adjusted the lineup because we'd still got Barnes and Gordon on at that point. And he's tried. Yeah, it's a funny one. I don't know what he did on shape wise.
I mean, I'm not sure when Wilson came on, to be honest, where I'm not sure Isak knew where he was supposed to be, because whether it was a 4-4-2 or what, because he was playing out on the, towards the left-hand side, which he enjoys playing there. Paul World says, you lads clearly not watching Isak's game. He dropped deep often and helped try and link play, let down by the midfield. Paul, I know you're a big Isak fan, matey, and I understand that, but his touch and his passing at the minute is way off. His control is shocking. And, as much as I love Isak, I'm talking about what I'm seeing on the pitch right now, not about all what he's done. But if you think he's coming back and getting the ball and let down by the midfield, when it's actually his touch that is letting himself down, and his passing is not there at all. He can't string a pass together at the minute.
I don't know. I don't think he was that bad. I think that's. No, I don't agree with you on that.
I'm saying in previous games. I'm not talking about just yesterday. I'm saying the last 4 or 5. His touch has been poor. But what I'm saying is, I think he's absolutely knackered because there's nobody for rotation. Nobody is able to step in for Isak, and we're relying on him so much that it's a time of this. He's absolutely shattered.
I don't think he was. I don't think it was terrible. I thought he was okay in the press, and I think he was okay at the link-up play. But I don't think he was. I think his positional play was poor. He wasn't in the right place at the right time. This has been in several of the recent games where we've had so many opportunities across the 6-yard box, the penalty spot, and he's just never been in the right place for a lot of the chances. So I wouldn't go as far as you've gone with it. But
well, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people agreeing with me in the chat. Paul World,
people disagree
please,
with you in chat as well.
You know, yes, but this guy just jumping on me all the time, targeting Isak. I'm talking about the game, Paul. It's as simple as that. If you
we'll get to the others, Paul World.
If you want to defend players when they're not at it, that's fair enough. But watch the game properly. You know, look at all the other comments coming in. I'm not targeting anybody. I'm talking about different aspects of the game, which is what you do in a match review, Paul. Open your eyes. I mean, look, Willick, Alex, we've got to talk about Joe Willick, right? Because he's had an opportunity now for me to really step up and perform. We had to talk about what Eddie said about like for like and stuff like that with Joe Linton. But again, you know, those balls that were coming into the box on a consistent basis in the first half yesterday. Again, you're looking where Willick is and where Isak is, and the both of them are nowhere near the ball. And I don't know why that is. It's just like they're all standing there, and I'm really disappointed in Joe Willick because I expect more from him.
I've got a hot take on Joe Willick. I think he's doing okay in a lot of aspects of his game at the moment, but because of his age and where he's at, it is a bit of a ticking clock. As in, kind of like where we were with Barnes. Like, we weren't happy with Barnes's off the ball work, and we weren't happy with Barnes's contributions for a short period of time because he kept getting injured. And then he came back and he started playing really well, physically playing really well as well, and getting assists and goals. And I think Joe Willick's come back into the side, and because of that absolutely outrageous, filthy run of form he had a couple of seasons ago where he was helping Isak out, we are expecting a lot from him. And it's a lot of pressure, and he's just struggling. And I think he's getting really, really frustrated as well. He's getting frustrated when he's getting subbed off. He's getting frustrated when he's missing chances. You can see it. I'm on the fence with Joe Willick at the moment. I think he's fully match fit. He's looking quick, physical. A lot of things look better than they did 4 to 6 weeks ago. But I completely agree with you, Paul. It's still a little bit. I think maybe a bit of confidence, getting a goal might buff this up a lot. But because he's 25 and we're possibly looking, he might be on a list potentially if we get a good fee for him. So I do worry for him. But I really want him to get a goal because I think he's got some really good physical attributes. And I think a goal would do his confidence the world of good. And we could get something out of him for the remaining few fixtures left in the season. But he is kind of running out of time, and unless he gets another season. But
I mean, to be fair, Paul World makes it. This is a good comment. When was Willick's last great game in the Premier League? When can you last say that Willick was outstanding in the Premier League?
In terms of his last great game,
I can't
remember a great game. And it was the season when we got to the Carabao Cup final against Man United. That was the last time I can remember a great game from Joe Willick. I can remember good games, but not great games. I think he's as close as he can be, though, physically and technically. He looks fully match fit. I think it's just confidence. For the people who don't like him, whatever, don't like him if you don't like him. But
I don't think it's the question you don't like him, Alex. I think people are just wanting a bit more from him.
But I don't think Miley can play that role at all, and I don't think Sean can play that role at all. So it's Joe Willick or Joe Willick at this point. So we're just going to have to get behind him. I think, but we can still criticize the things that are missing. Like, it's frustrating because he's so athletic. You want him to be getting in and around those chances with Isak because he used to do it. and we know he can.
Well, that's a frustrating thing. We know he can do it, Alex, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. We see, once maybe he's in a game where he picks the ball up on the halfway line and he turns on the afterburners. He did it a couple of times yesterday down the left, and it was his touch that let him down. He took a couple of heavy touches. I didn't like the dive. I have to say, I didn't like the dive.
I completely think that was a penalty.
Oh, come on, Alex! Really?
I think he clipped his thigh, 100%.
Oh, you look at the slow motion, mate. Willick was going down.
I did look at the slow motion. I think he clipped his thigh.
Oh God, Alex! I think you're clutching there, matey. I can't agree with that. I think it was a dive.
If you're saying that, I think you're deluded. I think he clipped his thigh.
the three VAR decisions yesterday were correct.
I think it right. In my honest opinion, you can say what you want, guys, in the chat. You can say what you want. I don't think it's possible to judge whether he clipped his thigh or didn't clip his thigh. You can't tell because it was that close. Therefore, it's inconclusive, and you have to go with the on-field decision. That is how the rules work.
Yeah.
I understand. I agree that he may have dived. That is a huge possibility. But I think because it's so close, people saying dive or no dive, none of us know. And because of that, you have to keep the on-field decision, which is penalty. Well, so I feel we have to have had the pen.
Yeah, but this is when we're getting into the boundaries of the clear and obvious shite, which we've talked about.
The rules are the rules, right? The rules are the rules.
Yeah, this is what we spoke about a million times, that they don't adhere to the rules because, we've seen so many times this season that there is things go on for penalty incidents that are not clear and obvious. And that for me, again, if you wanted to play by the rules, then I don't think VAR and the referee were agreed on that was a clear and obvious mistake by the referee.
I think everybody was looking at the feet, which I completely agree. No contact. But I think thigh-wise, it's hard to tell if there was or wasn't. Therefore, on-field decision stands, it's a penalty.
I mean, Julie says there, I think the trip on Gordon should still have been a penalty. You can't give that as a penalty, Julie. That was
not inside the box.
Yeah, the trip happened outside the box. He went over in the box, but the trip clearly was a yard outside the penalty area.
That one is black and white. That unfortunately, that's not a penalty. That Gordon one.
Clude says, Paul and Alex, do you think Sandro has had his worst game for Newcastle yesterday? He was horrible, in my opinion. I don't think he was horrible. I don't think he was very good in the first half. I think he was better second. But we were in complete control of that second half. I mean, it was literally all Newcastle in the second half for the majority of it. And I thought, he got better as the game went on, but certainly not to the standard that we've seen Sandro for weeks on end now. But listen, you cannot, as a footballer, play like Sandro Tonali and keep getting 9s and 10s every game. You are going to fall off at some point and just have a bad game or two. But I wouldn't say it was a bad game, Alex. I don't think it was bad. I just think we expect. I think Sandro has set the bar so high for himself now.
I don't think it was a bad game, and I think for people, I mean, Ash has just said that in the chat. If that's Tonali's worst game, then I'm happy with that. Completely agree with Ash. If that's his worst game, that's fine with me because I don't think it was that bad. I think he's just like you said, Paul. I think he set a level, and he wasn't quite as we've been accustomed to him recently just grabbing the ball after the 80th minute and just driving the whole team up the field and pinging it off the crossbar every match. He didn't do that against Brighton, but it doesn't mean it was a bad performance. He didn't give us the extra 20-30% that we've seen recently. I think he's been sensational. I think against Brighton he was okay. I think he did his job. He put out a lot of fires, and he was all right. It wasn't his.
Aaron makes a good point there. Because Tonali is so good, it's magnified if he's a little bit off his game.
Oh yeah.
But that's all about being an elite player. Alex says, wasn't there a game in the last year or so where we made contact against a player outside the box? The player continued into the box, and they gave a penalty against us. I can't remember the opposition. Well, listen, if it was Manchester United or Liverpool or one of those teams, it would have been given as a penalty. If it was us on the receiving end, we know that. They would have turned around and made that excuse up that, although the first, they'll have made some kind of excuse that the first initial contact was outside the box, but he was.
I think it was Dan Burn with a hand on somebody, and because the hand
something like that
stayed on him as they entered the box, or as the player entered the box, it therefore became a penalty. But unfortunately, the contact on Gordon had ended before Gordon touched any part of that box and the line. So it can't be a penalty, unfortunately.
Mick Law says, I thought the Gordon penalty should have stood. Gordon's standing foot was outside the box, but his foot that was impacted was inside. Oh, Mick,
No,
I think you need to take a look at that again, Manny.
Yeah, watch the highlights. It definitely wasn't.
Yeah. Put a sock in it. Says we have some players who are just not good enough at an elite level. This has been evident for a number of seasons as fans. We know this, but we've been unable to upgrade due to PSR. That's a fair comment. We know that there's players that are not good enough, and at the moment, all we can do is really, just stay behind the players. Now, I noticed that today, Alex, Bruno's come out on social media, with a message to the fans saying that they need a red hot atmosphere on Sunday. I think there's a lot of worry that it's a 12 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday, Alex. I mean, it's absolutely fucking. You don't think there's anything wrong with it?
They train at that time every day. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but a Sunday. I understand Saturday, but not a Sunday.
Wrong with that for the players?
Well,
but they don't. Their bodies don't know that it's a Sunday. The bodies don't know that. The bodies will know whether it's nighttime or daytime or what their hormones are doing based on what time it is of the day. But it's not going to make that much of a difference. The fact that it's a Sunday. I've never bought into this whole 12 o'clock versus 3 o'clock versus 5 o'clock.
I can't remember when we've had a kickoff at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. I can't remember any Premier League game kicking off at 12 o'clock on a Sunday.
But they train at those times every day.
I realise that, but actual kickoff times for the matches, Alex, I can't remember a 12 p.m. kickoff.
It's very early.
It's obviously for TV. I mean, it's a huge game. I mean, for
and
me,
people saying the crowd, fine. The crowd might be a bit different, but
but I think, and you're right, Paul McGuffey. It's the same for both teams, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, this game of this magnitude, it's a huge game. And I think this should have been the 4:30 kickoff. But hey, I mean, TV dictate everything at the minute.
What is the 4:30 kickoff?
I don't know.
I bet it's something rubbish, and then it's a really key Champions League battle that's not been.
Well, I mean, it'll probably be Newton Heath, won't it? I mean, let's have a look, shall we? Sunday. There we go. The 4:30 kickoff is Liverpool against Arsenal, which has.
It's a dead rubber.
It's a dead rubber.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Nobody cares about that.
It'll
be funny if Arsenal lose, but
there's another 3 games in the Premier League on Sunday, which all kick off at 2:15. And we kick off at midday. Why not put Liverpool against Arsenal midday? Why should we have to?
Yeah.
Why are they putting a dead rubber at 4:30? It's ridiculous. But
if Arsenal lose it, then they're in big trouble. Big trouble. They could drop as low as 4th if they don't steady the ship.
Well,
possibly lower.
Liverpool aren't exactly bothered given the side that they put out last night against
Chelsea. Considering how they played against Chelsea, that was absolutely.
But listen, I've seen a lot of people complain about that. Listen, they've won the title. They can do what they want. They don't have to put out their best side for the other teams. And I know that might upset a few people, but at the same time, if Arne Slot wants to take a look at some of his squad players for the rest of the season, surely he's entitled to do that. They've won the title. So, I mean, how often do we say, Alex, when we've got nothing to play for now at the end of seasons, let's have hopefully the manager will play a couple of the youngsters. Let's have a look at them.
Yeah, I mean, this is unfortunately. No, you're completely right. And it's a shame, actually, that Liverpool are not still in the Champions League. And they, we would want some of those teams in and around these positions to be taking the competition a bit more seriously, because it will do us a favour. Because Liverpool and Arsenal have fixtures against our rivals in and around the positions we need. So it's a little bit annoying, to be fair, but it is what it is.
It's very annoying. It is. I agree. It's very, very annoying. But he could turn around and say, "I want to look at some of the squad players in preparation for next season. I'm doing nothing wrong. We have won the title. It's not up to him to."
Just a shame that Chelsea game couldn't have been 2 weeks ago.
Well, exactly. But it's not up to Arne Slot now. It's up to the teams in the top 5 to take
The
care
Premier
of their
League
own business.
fixtures are outrageous as well. The way that the fixture list this season's been ridiculous. I don't know. I know you're not a particularly big fan of Everton, but I do think it's a bit weird that they weren't given a home fixture on their final day. It's like it wouldn't have been that hard to coordinate. Just let them play at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
I'm happy that we obviously get the home fixture, but it didn't have to be against us. They should have been able to play against somebody in their stadium for the final day, right?
Especially with the history of Goodison. I mean, look,
the Premier League knew this was coming, but they could have sorted it.
Well, they knew at the start of the season this was Everton's last season at Goodison, so
they've obviously all sat in a big room with all of the delegates and made this up, and they've all gone, let's do their last game 2 weeks out.
Yeah,
and they've all agreed. It's weird behaviour. Weird people,
it is.
Weird mindsets.
I wonder what would have happened if it was the last game at Old Trafford, Alex.
Of course.
When their stadium, their circus tent's ready. What'll it be like? I mean,
as soon as that's done, they will get a home fixture first game of the season,
and the last game at Old Trafford. Absolutely, we know that. Tom says Everton requested prior to the fixture list that they didn't play at home on the final day.
Why? That's very odd.
That's strange. I mean, listen, if it was St James's Park, I think we'd want to be at home on the final day of the season, surely.
Oh, yeah.
I would anyway, as a fan. But it's just the way it works. A2 says the wankathon to Cole Palmer on Sky yesterday was absolutely excruciating too. Yeah, I mean, Cole Palmer's been out of form for how long now?
3 months.
Yeah.
Hadn't scored in 3 months, and now he scored a penalty, and they love him.
I mean, he scores yesterday against the Liverpool practically B team, and then he suddenly...
he scores a penalty.
He's
let's not remove that word.
He's Ballon d'Or again. I mean, it's just typical of these idiots, man. Just fucking Sky TV and all this kind of crap. Anyway, let's do the player ratings, Alex, because I'm sure...
Woohoo.
I'm sure this is going to cause some interesting conversation in the chat with what we score them today. Julie, you're right. The Trent Alexander-Arnold loving as well. Honestly, just mental, man. Absolutely mental. So it was Brighton away, wasn't it, yesterday? Alex. Do you know I'm going to have to spend 4 hours putting all these on a spreadsheet? Never mind. Right, Nick Pope, Alex.
I mean, he didn't really have that much to do.
He had nothing to do.
We just conceded when we needed not to. Could he have done more to prevent the goal?
I'm sure, mate.
I think there were 3 or 4 players that could have stopped that before it got to Nick Pope.
Well, Tonali was my issue. Tonali just sort of went and then he stood off him again. I don't know why he did that.
I think there were some really good sweeping actions in that game. He was really alert to that. He wasn't really involved enough. I mean, I'm gonna go with a 6 because but I feel like that's a bit harsh. It's a 6, but I'm not unhappy with him. He didn't do anything overly wrong. There wasn't enough involvement to rate him any higher, I don't think.
Well, I've gone for a 7, Alex, because there was a few times that he did come off his line really quickly and sweep up.
Yeah, they were very good.
So, I mean, 6, 7, I mean, what does it matter? I mean, I don't think he had a chance with the goal. I think there was players in front of him. He didn't have a clear sight of it anyway, but I would have expected somebody to make a challenge. And Tonali went in, then he stood off him. I don't understand that, but I guess only Tonali will know why he did that, but I was expecting a little bit better defending. Livramento, mate. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll go with Tino first. Left back.
Tricky one because I feel like Minter had quite a lot of success down that right side, and Dan Burn kept getting left to put out fires on his own, and I feel like we've got to give some accountability to the players in front and around. So like, what is that? Tonali, Willock, Tino. But I thought he did okay in his individual duels and his actual work rate. I mean, yeah, LG just mentioned he got kicked to bits. He did actually.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. Yeah, he got absolutely hammered.
That put him off for 10 minutes. That did.
Some of them tackles were shocking, by the way.
I'm going to go with a 7. I'll go with a 7. I thought it was a tricky one for him. I think he's missing not having Joe Linton there a little bit, and yeah, he got kicked the absolute living daylights out of. So I'll go with a 7.
I've gone 6.5. Very similar though. I thought he the first half he got absolutely battered, and some of the tackles on him, especially sort of around the ankle and the shin, you know, on his left leg. I mean, God, it had been hanging off at half time. But you know, it was Minte is always going to be difficult to play with against because of his pace. But you know, I think he linked up well with Barnes and Tonali a few times on the left hand side, particularly first half. You know, they were linking up really well, but defensively, I don't think he had that much to do anyway, because there was only a few times that Minte broke on him. But it was one of them strange games. Trippier.
Weird one. And Adingra was really difficult to deal with. Adingra is a good player. I thought Trippier did okay. There were a few moments where he got absolutely destroyed, and a few moments where he showed his experience. It was a bit of a blend of both. He was okay, I guess. I'm going to go with a 7, because we only conceded once, and it was absolutely nothing to do with him. And I thought he was okay in the build-up. We were getting a little bit going. I think Murphy maybe wasn't on the same page as him. Yeah, I'll go with a 7 for Trips.
I've gone 6.5. Again, I think it's similar to Livramento. I don't think he did anything particularly wrong, Trippier. Again, some of his set pieces weren't fantastic. But we had a few different players yesterday taking set pieces, which was nice to see. But again, just defensively, the left wing. What was his name? The left winger's name again? Adingra. Yeah. He got the ball first half. I think he was on the ball a lot more than the second, because they swapped sides, didn't they? Minte went to the left at early second half, and Adingra kind of went out of the game. I think he was taken off eventually. But yeah, 6.5. Fabian Schär.
A couple of falling asleep moments. I didn't like how much they did seem to have an awful lot of space in front of Fabian Schär. That was where they excelled, just sitting in that little gap. Yeah. And I didn't like that. And he a couple of moments where he misread it or was maybe a little bit silly with his concentration, but much better, considering this was the fixture where he's been a dope a couple of times this season. Much more competent, really tidy passing, 90% passing accuracy. He hit 9 accurate long balls, which is
he hit one in the second half to Gordon, which I think led to the penalty incident.
They were very good. He won every single aerial duel he was asked to win, 6 out of 6 as well. It was much better from Fabian. He blocked a couple of shots. I'm going to go for an 8 for Fabian Schär. I thought he was fine. His side wasn't really the problem.
I've gone for a 7, but similar reasons to you, Alex. I thought he was much better. And as you said, those stats don't lie. I mean, 6 out of 6 in the air. He's done exactly what he's been asked to do. And I thought that pass he hit the Gordon was absolutely sensational, because Gordon just took it down. He was on a run straight away. He didn't have to check his run or anything. PD Proudlock, been a member for 18 months. Thank you very much, Peter. I wonder what Asula did wrong to be left on the bench yesterday. Surely he deserved to come on after getting a goal last week. Well, we spoke about that earlier on. I'm baffled by that, to be honest. I really am baffled, especially when his confidence is sky high. Like Eddie said in the press conference, he was buzzing. I just don't understand that. But listen, we can question it as much as we want, like we did with Lewis Hall and Livramento. We'll see what happens with Asula in future. But I would have thought it was he should have brought him onto the sideline, 74th minute, 75th minute, whenever Callum Wilson came on, and he should have just said, "Go win me that match," and just shepherded him onto the pitch on his own. Yeah, and I think he'd have unleashed absolute carnage. Dan Burn, Alex.
Difficult one, because I think we did a lot of what we used to do with Dan Burn when he was at left back. I think we expected him to have to deal with everything on his own, and that's not fair on Dan Burn. You know, you can't leave space for Yankuba Minte, Welbeck, Baleba to just drive at him. What's he supposed to do? So there's a part of me that feels he had a bad game, and there's a part of me that feels, well, what do you expect? Like, we literally left him on his own. So I'm going to go with a 5.5 for Dan Burn, but with a big asterisk over that of saying you cannot leave Dan Burn on his own like that. And I thought he did quite well in a lot of the situations he had to try and cope with. A few good tackles, good timing, really good with the aerial duels. But yeah, I guess his mark does have to get reflected by that.
Yeah, I've gone for a 6. Not his best game, but by far not his worst. For me, you know, he's still steady away. Dan Burn. LG says he looked a bit slower yesterday. He will be feeling it. I mean, God, the Lord
is going to look slower against Minte.
Yeah,
he just looks slower. Yeah, comparatively.
Absolutely.
And one thing I noticed, Paul, he was trying to ping some long straight balls through the middle. I don't know if you noticed that. He was trying to play penetrating passes a lot more often, which he's not normally the guy to do that.
But these balls that we play like that, Alex, that are aimed towards where Isak is, it's a waste of time.
No, they worked pretty well when Gordon came on, because he was playing them flat towards Gordon, and we were getting some luck from them.
Agreed, but when we played up to Isak, it just comes straight back. I
don't mean like a long ball. I mean trying it. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean something else.
No, I know what you mean. Playing through Gordon and things like that. Just before he came on, it's not just Burn. When the goal kicks that Nick Pope's taken, and we go straight up the middle, it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. Because he's one thing Isak is that kind of player that's going to win you loads of aerial duels. Isak's better with the ball at his feet, and we know what he can do with his feet. He's a genius, but not heading the ball. There's a few people asking about the sending off, Alex, whether you think you mentioned at the start of the show that you thought Brighton should have been down to 10 men at some point.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, you're talking about Weifer or Weifer?
Vifa, Waffle, whatever his name is. That challenge on its own, I think, is worthy of a check for a red card. So the fact it's worthy of a check for a red card means that it's at a minimum a booking.
Yeah. Yep.
So he should have categorically been off. And I think the proof is in the pudding, the fact that Herzler subbed him off literally minutes later. He knew he was a lucky boy. He knew they lucked out, and he subbed him straight off, which that is basically, I feel like, an admission of guilt. They knew he was walking he was a dead man. He was literally a dead man walking. He touches one more person, he's off. And I think we win that game purely because they were down to 10 men. We were struggling to put chances away, but we would have put chances away had they gone down to 10, in my opinion. It's categorically a red card. I don't think it's even questionable, because he went in from behind. He's taken the player out. Studs were high. There was even talk of it being a red on its own. So how is it not a second yellow? It's beyond.
Well,
me.
I mean, look, I said at the time I didn't think much was in it. I've watched it a couple of times since, and I agree with you. It should have been.
I think we were robbed. I think we had a second penalty shout that I think the on-field decision should have stood, and I think there should have been a red card. I think we were absolutely robbed. Absolutely robbed.
I think it was good management, though, to take him off after that, because he knew that he'd got away with it.
He was done. If he coughed towards a black and white shirt, he was off.
Yeah,
he was he was that close.
Sandro Tonali.
Oh, I mean, a lot of people are really upset with his performance. I'm not as upset. I thought he put out at least 2, I counted, really dangerous fires where they played through balls into the box, and he came back and covered, which basically stops 2 goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
He won every single duel, 100% of his duels. He was fouled 4 times and drew 4 free kicks. In bad areas, he was fouled as well in the middle of the park when we were trying to attack. I thought he was okay. I don't think it was his best performance in terms of his energy, marauding and hitting long shots. A bit of that was missing. and his passing wasn't quite as crisp as it normally is. But I think it was fine. I'll go with a 7. You know, we drew away to Brighton 1-1. We did not lose this game. I'm not going to put everyone down on super low ratings. I thought he was fine. I'm going 7.
I've gone with a 6. The thing that really disappointed me about Tonali is, I've already mentioned it, was the Minte goal. I'm not sure why he sort of looked as if he was going to go in, and then he took a step back and just seemed to let Minte have a shot. I was disappointed with that, but then he did some great things, especially, you know, like we said before, down the left with Livramento and Barnes. I think he was linking up really well. But obviously, like we've said, he's set the bar for himself. We know what a fantastic player Sandro Tonali is, and I guess I agree with that previous statement that when he's not at that level, it's magnified more because we know what a player he is, and that's the only reason. But Sandro's fine. I agree. I mean, we got to draw up the Amex. It's not a defeat. It wasn't a bad performance by them all. You know, let's be real. Bruno.
I don't think Bruno was as good as Tonali.
No.
And I know they play different roles and positions. So if people are frustrated with Tonali's performance, I'm curious to know what everybody thinks about Bruno's performance. A couple of key passes. 3 out of 3 accurate long balls is nice. He was okay physically in the middle of the park. But I think if you're looking at midfielders, Baleba was the outstanding one out of all of the midfield players.
He's a player. He's a hell of a
fantastic.
player, by the way. Yeah.
Well, he's still a bit raw. He put a couple of weird errors, but then was really good in other moments.
There was once one pass he played which he completely sliced in the. I think it was in
and
the
he slammed the ground in frustration because he knew
he nearly broke his wrist. Yeah, it was a terrible pass.
But yeah, Bruno, I think Bruno needs to be rated at least 0.5, maybe 1 whole point lower than Tonali. I thought he was trying to make things tick offensively, but I want to see him threading the eye of the needle to Isak, and or to someone. I'm going to go with a 6.5. I think that might even be a little bit generous, but yeah, go with 6.5.
I've gone a 5. I thought Bruno was poor yesterday. I honestly thought after last week's performance against Ipswich, when he looked more back to his usual self. There was a lovely 1-2 he played with Murphy when Murphy got to the byline, and again with Murphy yesterday, he couldn't get it past the keeper or the first man on some of his crosses. But just. Yeah, he's a funny one, Bruno, at the minute. But I'm not particularly worried again. I mean, look, I saw some ridiculous comments. And in fairness, I saw ridiculous comments in our Matchday Live show, and I saw ridiculous comments in other people's reaction shows saying, "Oh, sell Bruno, he's not worth the money. Sell Isak, he's this, he's that." And I find that utterly, utterly nonsensical, because we need to build a side around these players, not sell them. Whatever, just because they're having a rough patch. We don't sell players just because they're having a 3 or 4 games where we know what these players are. These players are elite. And if we're going to build a Champions League side and a team to compete at the top end of the Premier League, we need to build a side around these elite players. Now, yes, I'm going to sit here and criticize when I don't think players are playing very well for the particular game that we're reviewing. But on a whole, you cannot tell me that we need to sell Bruno, we need to sell Isak. What a load of utter bollocks. Absolute utter bollocks. I'm not having that at all. There's other players in that squad who have had chance after chance after chance and still have not performed that we know we need to sell. Simple as that. But Bruno and Isak are certainly not in a million years on that list to be sold. And if you think they should be sold, you shouldn't be supporting Newcastle, quite honestly. You are a million miles away from where you think we need to be as a squad if you want to sell Bruno and you want to sell Isak. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, Joe Willock, Alex.
Joe Willock. Is it weird if I say I think he was marginally better than Bruno? Even though they play different roles. Not a high bar, though. Not a high bar. I don't think either of them had great games. I liked him trying to use the afterburners. I think him and Barnes don't play very well on the same side. they do seem to be trying to run the same lines and step on each other's
I
toes.
think Willick gets in the way of Barnes more than Barnes the other way. But I think that's because Joe Linton
that's Willick's game, right?
Yeah, I think Joe Linton knows what Barnes they play together. I don't know. But I just think
Livramento never steps on Barnes' lines, whereas Willick, Willick and Barnes were trying to do the same thing because Barnes has put a lot more. He's added a lot more to his game in terms of trying to get to the byline. He does mix it up a fair amount, which is quite nice on the left. It's refreshing, but they do tend to get in each other's way. I liked the fight. I can see that he's really frustrated and he's trying, and it was okay. I'll go. I do feel like I've rated Bruno a bit high now. Kind of backed myself into a corner with this one.
Well, there's a lot of comments. Tom's made a comment saying, Alex, that Willick was worse than Bruno.
I think they tried to do very different things. Very different things. I'll go with 5.5.
5.5. Okay. I've got a 4. I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from Willick right now, especially when we know he's so much more capable. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or whether it's the long injury he had, whether that's playing on his mind or what. I don't know. But there is glimpses of the old Joe Willick, without a shadow of a doubt, but not enough. The Willick that was getting into the box and scoring goals, when he gets into the box now, he doesn't seem like he's able to get near or even challenge for the ball. It's a really strange one for me. But not good enough at the minute. Jacob Murphy, Alex.
Well, I mean, hands down, I think he deserves the lowest rating. I think this was his worst game this season. He won one duel, no crosses, no long balls, no key passes. He had one shot off target. That was kind of it. It's all worth mentioning. Played 56 minutes.
Well, the thing is, Alex, it was the crosses attempted would be interesting because he had loads of attempted crosses. And
only 2.
Well, I counted 3, but what the hell, it doesn't matter. But he couldn't.
Yeah, it depends.
Whether it was like a looping ball in or he just couldn't get past Verbruggen or the first defender. Poor for me.
I personally think he's just lost his place in the team.
A lot of people have said that,
I think Gordon and Barnes start in what positions and to what capacity, I don't know. But I think he's just lost his place, Jacob Murphy. I think against Chelsea at home, I think we start Anthony Gordon personally. I'm going to go with a 3 for that performance. And Jacob's performed like an elite player. Whether you like him or not, and whether you think he's elite is irrelevant. His season has been elite. But that was, I think, his worst performance of the season, which is a big shame for Jacob because he loves the club and he wants to do everything in his power to drive us forward. But it was a really bad day at the office for him.
Yeah, I've given him a 3 as well. But I think the thing is, Alex, what we need to say here is that although how well Murphy has played, you have to remember that what's at stake here now. And Eddie can't look and say, well, yeah, Jacob's had a good season. But when you've got Gordon and Barnes, who let's be fair, they can swap sides as well during the game. They can mix it up a little bit. And that's where I think, and from what I've been reading today, a lot of people have said that maybe Barnes and Gordon will start against Chelsea, which, it's no disrespect to Jacob. He's been fantastic this season. But when you've got, Gordon came on and looked really lively yesterday for me. He's got to go with them too. I genuinely think that the time has now come that Barnes has done enough now to get in front of Jacob Murphy if he brings Gordon back in. It's Murphy that would miss out. Chip is with a super chat saying, imagine if we signed Belieber for a chant. Then I saw his face. Now I'm a believer. Chippers, are you like 4 years behind with all the jokes? That one has been out ever since the kid has been in the Premier League. But never mind. Nice one. Thank you for your super chat. Peter Garthwaite says, have you seen rumours Wilson will be staying? Yeah, there was rumours have been kicking around for
I closed my eyes when I tried to read those.
Yeah. John Burbeck with us, been a member for 10 months now. Thank you, John. Hi, lads. Just shows how far Longstaff is way down the pecking order when he can't get a game now. Yeah, no matter how many times Sir Eddie builds him up. Yeah, that's quite clear. Harvey Barnes, Alex.
Better than Murphy and Willock, but still not enough. A couple of key passes. I thought 2 shots on target. I thought he was very unlucky not to have any assist or goal in that game. I thought he did enough to get something, and it was just very good goalkeeping that stopped it.
Yeah.
He wasn't. It wasn't his best game in terms of physical output, duels, and things like that. But yeah, I'll go with a 7.5. I'm going to go with a reasonably positive mark because I think he was decent. I think a couple of times, I think maybe he overplays once or twice and is a little bit selfish once or twice too many times.
Is that not a winger though, Alex? Is that not what wingers do though?
Well, he's not. I don't think he's a winger. I think he's a wide forward.
Yeah.
Who wants to be the goal scorer. He wants to be the guy, even though he does play out wide. And I do think there have been games in the last month where there was a pass on. But because there have been times where he scored from those selfish actions, it's kind of hard to go against him. Because do you remember that chance? It was 2 or 3 weeks ago where he could have passed left to Isak and he just booted it from outside the box and he scored. Because he does things like that, he's got the right. But I do feel like maybe he needs to play people in sometimes. But yeah, it's 7.5, and he was unfortunate not to score.
But at the same time, Alex, with Harvey Barnes, you know, when he's putting, I think it was the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game yesterday, he put a brilliant cross in, and nobody's attacking it. And then when you continually see that the crosses you put in are not being rewarded, sometimes you just think, well, sod it. Why am I putting it? I'll try and do it myself. I can understand it in a way. Well,
the positioning of everybody else in the build up to those kinds of chances needs to be better. This is more of a Billy comment than a me comment. If Barnes is building up on the left side of the box, he's either going to cut in and have a shot, in which case you might get lucky on the rebound if you are Joe Willock, Tonali, Bruno, Isak, someone, or the opportunity is going to go towards the byline because Livramento is going to take it, or someone else is going to take it to the byline. In which case, you still need to be ready on the penalty spot or at the 6-yard box. And whether, an Isak or Willock or Tonali, whoever it was, if Lewis Dunks beat you the first time because you got in front, try behind, try front post, try nip, try back post. This is what Billy always used to say. And this is what he used to say about Chris Wood. And it's completely bang on.
Just bear with me 2 seconds, Alex. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Just continue what you're saying.
No bother. Okay, well, I guess I'll continue then. Yeah, I feel like we need to mix up that positioning because we're engineering the opportunity. And in recent weeks, Murphy's been doing a better job than he did against Brighton. And we've never got a spare man in the right place. Never. Every single time, it fell to a fish and chip shop bag shirt in a Brighton shirt. Never to a black and white.
Fish and chip shop shirt?
Well, that's what they wear, isn't it?
Oh, just blue and white.
Yeah, the old blue and white little bags you used to get the fish and chip shop. Is that not what their kit's inspired from? Seagulls and fish and chip shop bags? I thought that was the inspiration, no?
Could be. It could be. Could be.
Did you not have those up in the Northeast?
I don't remember.
Maybe
we did. I don't know.
Somebody in the chat, can you just confirm I'm not absolutely mental? That is a thing, right?
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll find out. I've given Harvey Barnes an 8. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Barnes at the minute, and deserves 100% to stay in the side. Essex, Isak, Alex.
I'll go with a 6. I think. Well, I mean, we'll have to reference Paul World because he said it so many times. Yes, he did drop deep and try and help progress us sort of to build up into the next section of the pitch, which was better than he normally does. He didn't get much service, but then I think there were a lot of opportunities for him to be in better places.
I
think he was lacking.
It was a bit weird.
Yeah, he scored the pen, which is great. You want him to be, I think we maybe underestimate and don't we're not as grateful as we should be for how good a goal scorer he is from the penalty spot, which is very nice. But yeah, a 6. I can't give him any higher than that. I think he was lacking in mobility, positioning, awareness, just being a predator in the box. He wasn't.
Yeah. I've gone for a 5. But again, cool as ice for the penalty. Absolutely fantastically put it away. But I've said my piece. I don't think Isak is at full flow right now. And I do think when you look at him trying to close the goalkeeper out, he's not really running at full pelt at all. But he's been asked to do a hell of a lot this season, has Isak. And just he's still putting it in, though. He still scores, whether it be a penalty or whatever it may be. By the way, Paul World, for all the crap you gave me about Isak at the start of this show, matey, you've scored him 1 point more than me. He's given him a 6, and I've given him a 5. Can you believe that? Football is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Anyway, Anthony Gordon, Alex.
Sorry, I was looking at fish chop bags. Anthony Gordon. Yeah, he was solid when he came on. I still think he needs to
find his shooting boots is what he does need to do.
Yeah, potentially stop being as selfish. Him and Barnes both can be a bit selfish. But yeah, he was good in. I mean, the stats say he won every single duel. He was trying to make things happen on the left hand side. He was a centimetre away from winning a penalty for his team. 2 accurate crosses out of 2, better than the other 2 wingers managed for the whole match. Yeah, he can have a 7. Maybe deserves a tad more. I'll still go with a 7.
I agree. I've given him a 6.5, Alex. I think when he came on, but I just want to see him. If he's going to shoot, then you've got to make these shots count. You can't be ballooning the ball miles wide and over the bar all the time. We know he can score goals.
I think he needs a run of games. I think he's been injured. He's been out the side. I think he's not as gifted as Barnes or Isak at being clinical. I think he has to work a lot harder on those things himself. So I think he could do with the run of games for
that. Callum Wilson. Now, I know Kraft and Isak came on.
90th.
Kraft and Botman came on. We're not going to rate them. They weren't on the pitch long enough at all. But we will rate Wilson, Alex.
I mean,
almost scored, to be fair to him. Almost scored. Had a hell of a shot. I mean,
I hope that's a joke.
Well,
and I hope that's a joke as well. Honestly, if we're giving people 7s and 8s for 1 shot, he did nothing else. He had just as many shots as he did passes. 1.
Yeah.
I'm going with a 3. I don't think he offers anything when we're chasing a game anymore, especially the way we're trying to play. I hate the fact that we bring him on and we stop putting crosses in the box. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know. I want Willa Sulla to play. I don't understand it personally.
Yeah, 3 for me as well. I mean, look. I think we're at a point now where we know what we're getting from Wilson when he comes on, which is very little. But for some, Eddie Howe still believes that Wilson is going to change a game, and it's not happening. It's just not going to happen. Right, Eddie Howe, Alex.
I mean, there's not really much more he could have done, really, was there? I think the game got away from him through refereeing decisions, red cards that weren't given out that should have been, incorrect penalty decisions, and I think the referee was very kind to Brighton in that game as well. Just general shouts. I think the substitutions were correct to a degree. I liked the timing of the Gordon substitution. I think he identified straight away that Murphy wasn't working. And we were engineering a high volume of opportunities. We played better than we've done previously against Brighton. It just didn't happen. I don't like the Callum Wilson substitution. And we didn't win, but we did get a draw away, which is normally pretty positive. I'll go with a 7.
Yeah, that's what I've gone for. I just think he should bring us. The Asula thing is very, very puzzling to me, Alex. It really is. I don't understand it. For me, that was crying out yesterday for Will Asula to come on, even just for the last 10 minutes, just to mix it up a little bit, give it a bit of physicality, and you just never know. But listen, I'm not questioning Eddie Howe. I just think I would have liked to have seen Asula come on. But look, we play Chelsea next. I'm expecting a lot more from our bigger players in the game. They need to stand up and be counted. And let's put Chelsea to the sword, hopefully. But we'll talk about that later on in the week. But that is it. Man of the match for the viewers, Alex. Who do you think?
Oh, God. Barnes? I mean, it's not. I don't know.
It is Barnes. It's Barnes by a country mile. 61% of the votes for Harvey Barnes. Second was Tonali with 15. Third was Gordon with 14, and 10 for Tino Livramento. So they are the results of the poll.
Oversight that we didn't put Fabian Schär in there, but then
I still think Barnes would have won it, maybe, to be honest. I think a lot of people. Yeah. Peter Garthwaite and the super chats in. May as well send Asula and Miley out on loan. I don't think he's got any intention of doing that at all. If you ask him face to face, we'll just have to. I think he's got big plans for Miley and Asula, to be honest. We just have to be patient. Just be patient. But that is it for tonight, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your super chats and memberships. Mods and Alex, thank you very much. Don't forget to check our website out, thetoonreview.com, for all your merchandise. Get yourself something nice on there. Loads of things to pick from. That's thetoonreview.com. The suppliers are getting the orders out really, really quickly as well. So well done to them for that. And thank you to Mamaru Records for continuing to sponsor the channel, based in Whitley Bay, for all your music needs. And if you can't get into Whitley Bay, check them out online. Their link is pinned just under our website link at the top of the description. Please do drop a like before you leave the stream, or if you're watching this on a rerun. And of course, please do subscribe if you're new. The community is building very, very quickly now. We're getting very close to 38,000. Please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening, folks, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check on some breathing. When I'm thanked you and I'm thanked you, then are you back to judge it? So much trouble, make my day.